It has long been acknowledged that residential aged care facilities designed to support the frail and elderly in their last stages of life are not appropriate options for young people with a disability. Despite this, the number of young people forced into aged care continues to rise. The true figure is not known, but it is documented that 1,340 young people live in aged care in Queensland, forced into aged care to get their support needs met, told they have no choice, no option, nowhere else to go. In October last year, on the way to visiting some friends, George had a stroke. His left side had been affected by the stroke. After 3 months in hospital, he moved to a rehabilitation facility. He was told rehab would help him gain more independence so he could return to living in the community. While in rehab, George was told there was no funding for support. The only option was an aged care facility. George refused the aged care option, which led to an application being submitted to QCAT, challenging George's capacity to make his own decisions. It was determined George has capacity to make his own decisions. His future, however, still remains uncertain. Prior to 2011, Juanita lived a full life with purpose. A homeowner, employee, mother, sister, contributor. 4 years of ill health associated with Juanita's diabetes led to one of her legs needing to be amputated in June last year. After a required extended stay in rehab, Juanita was told by Disability Services there was no funding for support in the community. Juanita felt coerced to agree to the only option given to her, an aged care facility. She felt pressured to take the first vacancy that became available without even seeing it. Juanita felt dread and despair when she visited the facility. Each section was locked, meaning she would not be able to move around freely. She was told she had no choice, no option, and that her consent to move to an aged care facility could not be withdrawn. Chris had just finished his painting apprenticeship when he was diagnosed with neuromyotoma. For 2 decades, his parents, who are now in their 70s and have their own health issues, have provided the majority of Chris's support. Chris's home is not accessible. He has no funding for support. He has a shower once a week and has been out of his home only twice this year. He spends his days confined to his bed in his room. His situation is not sustainable and he lives in constant fear that he will be forced to move into an aged care facility like many of his friends. Chris has been waiting 19 years to have his basic rights around housing and support met. Michelle loved her job, going to the gym and walking her dog on the beach. One day at home, she felt like her head was splitting open. She was having a stroke. For the past 3 years, Michelle has been in a rehab facility. She's been ready to move back into the community for the last 2.5. Last year, Michelle's father was pressured to agree to an ACAT assessment for Michelle. He was told the only way Michelle would get out of rehab is for her to move into an aged care facility. It would just be temporary. Michelle's father withdrew consent for Michelle to be moved into an aged care facility. She, however, remains in a nursing home type environment waiting for an individual funding and appropriate housing in an area close to her family.
My name is George Kenner. I'm 53 years old.
I'm 50 years old.
I'm 42.
I'm 48.
The average age of people living in aged care facilities is 85 years.
Any sort of residential facility, it's not a home.
You feel really isolated and institutionalised and not part of anything.
Being forced to live in a nursing home denies me the right to live with who I want to live with, how I want to live, and where I want to live.
I think it's a right to be part of the community, whether we're disabled or not.
You shouldn't be forced to live in nursing homes just because there's no other options.
One of the reasons why I want to be able to live independently is so I can be part of the community and participate.
Article 19 of the CRPD states people have the right to live independently and be part of the community.
I think young people need to be in either their own environments or an environment of their choice, which is a basic human right.
The issue of young people entering aged care has been recognised as a national concern, prompting a Senate inquiry.
I really want to be up north, Brisbane north side, so I can be close to my dad. I'd love to go back to work because I really miss work.
It's important to me to have my freedom, to be able to see my family. I'd like to think that I can still have some independence where I'm going to live and be able to get out.
For the future, I want to be able to live it in the community and live safely and with supported care.
I need enough space to live properly, rather than being stuck in a room all the time, or being stuck in a bed all the time. The main thing that I want is to avoid ending up in a nursing home.